Hmm.
Hello everybody. So I am Pratik and we are here to give a talk on an experiment which we have done in IOCA astronomy theme competition. So this experiment was done in late 2024. We did this experiment for a period of 2 months from November and December. So we actually calculated orbital period of Jupiter moons. So using a 6-inch telescope and my phone. The aim of this experiment was using minimum resources. So in this image, we can see there is an Galileo Galilei watching a night sky, and there are some drawings and pictures about she handwritten by Galileo Galilei. So the circular thing is there is in Jupiter, and the star like things are Jupiter moons. So these are the actual drawings which was drawn by Galileo Galilei, and we call, because of that we call those moons as Galilean moons. But at that same time there was another astronomer named Simon Marius. He also observed these Jupiter moons and gave name one of them Io. So he also did a quite good job in finding Jupiter moons. But today we all know Galileo Galilei because of his lot of work. But Simon Marius is quite famous in his country Germany. So they both work together. Even Simon find the Jupiter moons first. We call all the moons as a Galilean moons. So what is aim of our experiment? Here orbital period of Jupiter 4 moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede and Callisto. Then we will verify Kepler's third law, and also we will verify an interesting thing, Laplace resonance for Io, Europa and Ganymede, which is 1:2:4. So first of all, why to do this experiment? So this experiment was like a very quite good experiment, and we did this experiment using a very limited resources. So we even have a low budget. So it's a good experiment for amateur astronomers and people who are quite have interest in astronomy. By doing this experiment, we get a knowledge of sky observation. Also, we get a knowledge of how things work there, like the timings and events happening. Also, we can analyze different trends, and also just for fun. So, before doing this experiment, we will go through theory. So, we will see the Kepler's third law. Kepler's third law says that the square of time period of a planet is directly proportional to the cube of semi-major axis of its orbit. Like, just imagine there is an elliptical orbit, Jupiter on one of its foci, and Moon is rotating around this foci. So the semi-major axis is this axis, which is distance between Moon and Jupiter, which is changing accordingly. But while doing this experiment, we assume this orbital to be a circular, because there is very minor change in actual orbit, and we assume orbit, so it will not cause any error. So first we will prove Kepler's third law theoretically. Here, as we know, gravitational force works like this, and centrifugal force works like this, and they are equal to each other. So by doing these calculations further, we reach to the place where we see that t square is directly proportional to r cube. R is distance between Jupiter, Moon and Jupiter. So next thing. So before telling about Laplace resonance, I want to tell you about musicospheres and cosmic dance. Musicosphere, you may have seen this in various in Coldplay concert. So musicosphere is a philosophical concept in which they said that all celestial bodies have some harmonium mathematical ratios with each other, which are quite related to the musical tones. And also in cosmic dance, they also said that all things in the universe are connected to each other and they are interconnected. So the same thing was said by in Laplace resonance. In Laplace resonance, they said that if there are three bodies moving around any star, those three's orbital period time has some ratio with each other. In case of Io Europa Canavi is 1:2:4, which we are going to verify. So in how we will be going to find time period? So we are using a simple equation, simple sine function. As we all know, sine we can find like when we observe orbital period of the star. Let's assume that we are watching from this side. We will see that as it's moving from here to here, we will see it like moving like this. Then it's here, then it will come back, and here, then it will come back, and then come back down here. So it will show something SHM movement. So if we plot this with respect to time, we will get an curve, a sinusoidal curve. Using that sinusoidal curve and using omega, we can find time period of all Jupiter moons. So what is our plan? So we will first capture images of moons in regular time interval until this one duration is completed. So out of 4 moons, Callisto has the maximum time period. It's around 17 days. So we have to take data of around 17 days. Then we will plot that data using the coordinates and using coordinates with respect to Jupiter, and then analyze it, then do data modeling, and then do analysis and done. So let's start the experiment. So before starting the experiment, the things which we need to do, things which we need to have is 6-inch telescope, 10mm eyepiece, a mobile holder, and a mobile. I particularly use Samsung A35. I also want to tell you that we should use only one mobile throughout the period. Mobile should not be changed because of change of mobile there may be changes in properties also. So experimental procedure. First we have to set up the telescope. So put in a tripod, then put in a mount on it, then earrings, and then the tube, and then balance and align the telescope. After adding all necessary accessories like viewfinder and eyepiece, all first years may have training, maybe they have training sessions, and all other people may have know all these things. So after doing all balancing and aligning, we will point it towards the Jupiter and change the focus of telescope accordingly. And then we will attach our mobile phone with the telescope using a mobile holder. And now we are now done to start taking images. Before we start taking images, we should capture those images in Pro mode. You may ask why we should use Pro mode. So while capturing images, sometimes we find that Jupiter is quite bright, as with respect, like it's quite bright. Because of its brightness, we can't able to see Jupiter moons. So to avoid this, we will use Pro mode, and by using ISO and exposure, we can change its settings so that Jupiter moons may be visible. After that, we will take if like sometimes if there is a windy conditions, then telescope will shake and it may cause bad images. So in this case, we should take multiple photos or videos, and we have to do the same thing for 17 days. So by doing this, we have to consider some precautions. First thing is that we have to Jupiter should not be that much close to the horizon. If Jupiter will be close to horizon, then because of atmospheric errors, we couldn't able to get a good image. So it should be like around 30 to 40 degrees from the horizon. And also one thing is to note that we should take all photos either before zenith or after zenith. If we didn't do like that, then we may find the incomplete image will be shifted. So here you can see these are moons before zenith, and if I see the same picture after zenith, you can see the clear difference, like it is shifted. Wrong slide. So here you can see the visual. These moons are like in this plane, and after zenith they see like in this plane. So we have to take this precaution to take all photos before zenith or after zenith. After that, next thing, as I said before, we have to set exposure and ISO accordingly. Here we can see clearly in the normal image, all the moons are quite distinct and we can see them very clearly. But in other image which is overexposed, we can't able to see those images, like the moon is completely gone in the Jupiter. Next, thing is the orientation of the phone. Orientation of the phone throughout the experiment should be same. It should not be changed. Like if your phone is at this angle at the start, like at this angle you put this phone, it should be same throughout the experiment. It should not be like someday you can put this like this. You should not do like this. It always should be this throughout the 17 days. And this is the correct orientation by which we take all the photos, and this is the wrong orientation. Next thing is chromatic aberration. So there is a property in the lens, like this is eyepiece, and then there is an object something like here. So when the light crosses from these regions of the lens, different colors diffract different. So maybe a red diffract like this and other will diffract like this. So we will not get actual like a good image of Jupiter. So we have to try that the Jupiter should be at the center of the lens to avoid chromatic aberration. Then after taking images, we select the best images possible, and it should not be blurred, overexposed and shade. Now I would like to call Aparajita to continue the analysis part.
So after we are done with collecting our images, the main part comes about analyzing those images and fulfilling the aim of our experiment. So our aim was to verify this relation equal generally proportional to R3. So basically there are two parameters, R and T. So first we will be with calculating R, which is the distance. So for that, for calculating any distance, we need 2 points and the coordinates of those 2 points. So the first thing we'll do is to find out the coordinates. So we have an image, which was, let's assume this image, and we have around 5 points. So we need 5 coordinates. So we are going to design a Python code which will help you to get those coordinates. So I'll explain the code. So now what this code is doing, it is considering the image as a matrix, and the coordinate which you have, the code will give you the Now, why we are doing a grayscale conversion is because every intensity in this image will have three values RGB. So, working with those three intensities would be a kind of difficult thing. So, we'll just convert this thing into a grayscale so that each pixel will have just one intensity value. So, this is the first step our code is doing. Then, so this is an original RGB image, this is a grayscale image. Now what we are doing is we are going to apply a logarithmic transformation in our image. This logarithmic transformation will help us to increase the contrast between the bright pixels and the not so bright pixels, so that calculating the coordinates and differentiating the brighter pixels would be more easier. So after logarithmic transformation, we'll apply a grid. So basically, after applying a grid, the image will look like this. And now there are some manual works. Now we are going to approximately give our code the location of the point we need. Like if this is the point where we need, I'm going to give the approximate location of the box to the code, and we'll isolate the box. So this is isolated image of that box. Now if we see the brighter pixels are not concentrated to a single point. They are scattered. You can see this whole region is bright, approximately the same intensity. So we cannot originally calculate the particular exact point for that. So for this, we are going to use a Gaussian fit. That is, suppose this. Suppose this is the image. Here we have the intense pixels, here we have the dark pixels. Now we are going to assume stripes. Either in x direction or in y direction. Either way is possible. So after assuming particular strips in the y direction, we are going to see the intensity pattern and we'll see an approximate Gaussian curve. Approximate as in the tails would represent the Gaussian curve, but the top part may be somewhat like this. Like here, you can see this part, the top part is not Gaussian, but the tails approximately comes to be a Gaussian, and we are going to deal with this tails. Now, why this thing is coming is because the moons, the intensity or the light which is reflected from the moons, are not concentrated in a particular point, and it gets diffracted or diffused in the region. So to calibrate that, we are getting this Gaussian curve. So after calculating Gaussian curves in all these steps, we are going to overlap them, and similarly we are going to do it for the x direction, and we are going to overlap them. And after that, we are going to get a smooth curve. The red line represents our Gaussian fit, which we did. The blue dots represents our original data. You can see there is a saturation. This is where the maximum pixel range was reached. And then our code just made an approximate Gaussian curve, and the center of the Gaussian curve will give you the coordinates. And this is what we did for all the images. And we calculated the coordinates. So the first step which we need for distance is done. That are the coordinates. Now the thing is, we are going to measure the distance from Jupiter and Moon. Before measuring the distance, we need to define a sign convention. That is, as Pratik said, that we need a particular orientation. This particular orientation is required for this step. This is a particular sign convention. So, suppose Jupiter is here or this Moon is here. A horizontal convention. So we are going to assume Jupiter to be the origin, and all the distances left to them will be negative, and all the distances right to them will be positive. So, as you can see in this table, we calculated all the distances from Jupiter to Moon A, Moon B, Moon C. One more thing is labeling. Now we are going to label all the leftmost moon from Jupiter A, B, C, and D. Every images are labeled like this. It may happen like this moon in the first day is iron, but in the second image this moon is celestial. So, but still we angular motion, we can assume that the motion or the y, this equation is being followed. Omega t plus c. This equation is being followed. So basically, we are going to fit this into a sine curve. And as we know, the range for sine curve is -1 to +1. But this range is quite too out of the sine range. So what we are going to do, we are going to normalize these distances. For this, we are going to look for the maximum distance present. That is around here we can see 734.57. This is the maximum distance in this entire chart. Now, while measuring or while capturing the image, it may happen that the extreme position of the moon is was somewhere around 11 p.m. and we took the shot at around 12 a.m. and so we missed the extreme point. So to compensate this, we are going to add 30 to 50 pixels more to the maximum distance, and we are going to divide every number with 750 of moon width. So after we divided every number, we can see all this range is between -1 to +1. Now we can fit this into a sine curve. So let's plot the ratios with the time taken. The time could be calculated by simply going to the details section of the images and seeing which hour and which minute the image is being taken. So this is a random graph which we are getting, which is not so random. We are going to filter them out. So in this graph, you can to filter them out, you can see there is this extreme point over here. So there is this extreme point over here, the green dot. Then there is this lowest extreme around 200, which is the blue dot. Then again the highest extreme around 350 to 400. So while joining these three extremes, we are going to calculate or visualize the sine curve and filter out those data. This is a trial and error method of calculating the sine curve. So this is what we filtered out from calculating the extreme position to the lowest extreme to the highest extreme, and this is the sine curve which we have set. Now this is what we visualized. It is not a sine curve yet. So we fit it with a code and see that okay, this fits. Now there are some data where the sine curve won't fit. Like here, you can see there is this topmost point which is not present in the sine curve, and here there is this lowest point over here which is not fitting there. So what we are going to do, we are going to swap these two coordinates and see, and we found out that that point belongs to this graph and that point belongs to that graph. So calculating or visualizing sine graph for moons with longer time period was much easier than calculating sine graph for something this complex. So this is just a trial and error method. Okay. Now after we are done with fitting the sine curve, we are going to calculate omega, which is the frequency, and from omega we will get the time period by dividing it by 2 and hence we have the time parameter and the distance parameter, and now we can verify the proportionality, that is t square equals to aq, and we can see that the line is a straight line or it's directly proportional, and hence it's verified. So error analysis, which is the thing that we manually calculated was time period with the distances. So the error might come in time period, which we can calculate using this. Then the error in time period was given directly by the code or the site which we used for fitting the sine curve. Then there might be some manual reasons why errors might be there. So let me first show you how much accurate we were. So we determined this value, and the original value, like for orbital period of Io, original value was 1.769 days, and we calculated 1.7697 days, with an accuracy with a relative error of 0.039%. This was pretty accurate. So why these errors are coming? quality, image processing. Second error might be due to the Gaussian curve. This is not a particular Gaussian curve, but we assumed it and we just took the part which we required to calculate the data. So this is one more reason. Another reason might be fitting of sine curve. This was a manual process which might contain some error. Second one and fourth might be IO and like taking data. We took data every day, but for IO and telescope, taking data hourly would be much better as the time period of IO is very small. Like within 1.7 days, it's completing its one orbit. So one thing which we missed was taking hourly data, which would have given more accurate time period.